Hey, how's everybody doing today? This is Mark Brody, and this is the next episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk. And I am very humbled to be here with my friend Danielle Ellis. And Danielle is a project manager, and we've recently been talking a little bit about um, how employers can be a little bit more attractive to prospective employees. We both live in the Austin market, and the Austin market is really, really hot right now for companies trying to attract really great talent. So we thought we'd have this conversation to really talk about some experiences and some suggestions that there may be out there for potential employees and their potential employers. So with that, Danielle, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm so happy to be here on Coffee Talk with Brohawk. I'm very excited. So a little bit about me. I've been in the Austin area for about 15 years now, and I've worked as a healthcare project manager for most of my career. So I've spent a lot of time working with global healthcare companies, working on healthcare initiatives, projects, IT initiatives, et cetera. I'm an active member with PMI Austin, doing a lot of work there, giving lunch and learn lessons and speeches at the upcoming fall professional development day event. And, just having a great time. Austin is fun. I enjoy it here with my family. And, it's a great space to be in, especially for project managers.
Oh, definitely. And one of the things that you just brought up that I think is so important for prospective employees is to be involved in a community organization. When I say community, not necessarily in your location, but just a professional community. Like PMI, as an example, to really get exposed to other professionals in the same space. So
Yeah.
I love seeing that. Um, so what are some things that employers could do to make themselves, do you think, a little bit more attractive to prospective employees?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I really feel that employers need to bring more to the table. So at this point in a lot of people's lives, they're looking for more than just a job. They're looking for a full career. They're
Hmm.
looking for benefits, good benefits. They're looking for
Yeah.
career growth, right? So they don't want the job where they stay in the same job for the next 20 years. That kind of concept is out the door.
Hmm.
They want to be engaged and involved with the company. So they want to feel valued and they want to feel like they're part of the team. And so they have to show that that's what they have in their company culture. And it's important to show that at the beginning of your application and the beginning of your interview, because that's kind of the deciding factor on whether an employee takes a job at your company or not. Does the company look like me? Does the company have the
Yes.
same values as me? So I think that that's really important. And I think that there's been a really big growth in that idea over the past few years with a lot of the changes we've seen in the industry.
Oh, I love that. Basically, does the company that I'm going to work for embody what I value?
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Exactly.
that is so important. Um, so when looking at a potential landing spot for someone looking for a new job, and really regardless of the level, it could be like um, a new frontline employee or someone that has a little bit more experience or even more of a professional role. What are some areas that employees really should be focused on when looking at a potential landing spot?
So I think that they should be looking at, well, one of the things that I definitely looked for is companies that, like I said earlier, look like me, right?
Hmm.
I would like to see women who are involved heavily in the day-to-day decision making. They have a leadership role, they have an executive role. That's important to me. I also want to see more diversity in a lot of the companies. So those are things that I look for. And those are things that I look for before I even put in an application, right? I'm
Mm.
looking at the company's website. Do you have the same stock images all over the website, or do you have something a little bit more interesting to me that makes me think that I want to be part of your company? So I look for those things. I also look at tenure. So how long have you had employees there? Do you have a high turnover rate, or have they been there for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, right? So are you growing as a company? Are your employees growing as a company as well? So for me, those are the big factors that I look for when I'm looking for a potential employer, and just how they're perceived by others in the industry, other companies, regular members in the community. If the company has a bad reputation and they're like, oh, you don't want to work there, I'm like, that's going to give me pause and say, let's maybe get a little information on that, what happened there. So you want the company to have a very good reputation as well. If they're constantly stuck in lawsuits, or they had some sort of issue that you don't find out about until you get into the employer, that's never a good sign, and that's not an area for success.
Yeah. So, you mentioned, looking at reputation, and understanding what the tenure is. So, are there places like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, that you typically use as a starting point, to go ahead, and we're not advocating for any of these websites. Just want to make that clear. But they are good resources out there for employer or potential employees. Are those some starting points for you?
Yeah, so I typically do a Glassdoor search. I feel like Glassdoor is very transparent on a lot of different aspects: tenure, salary, and then just general reviews. How do employees at the company feel about where the company is going, what direction they're going in?
Hmm.
How do they feel about the CEO, right? So I do read those reviews. I look for the most recent ones. Don't look for ones from like 5 years ago, because clearly that's things could have changed in 5 years. But
Yeah.
um, look at something that's more recent. I also look at my LinkedIn connections and see if I have a connection with someone who is working there or has previously worked there, because that's really the gold mine of the experience of working for the company. How did that person feel when they were there? Why did they leave? That's a very honest and transparent question to ask, and you
Hmm.
shouldn't be afraid to ask that. Why did you leave? New opportunity, you moved out of state, I didn't like the culture, whatever the case may be. I feel that you should have a good enough relationship and connection with that person that you can freely ask those questions.
Great point, and that also circles back to having that professional network, like a PMI, or in Austin, the Austin Contact Center Alliance, or any organizations like that, where you can reach out to somebody that you're already doing, some project work with,
Right.
some networking with already, because they're going to give you the straight skinny on that.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you'll also hear, okay, is this person thinking about leaving the company that I'm about to be looking at, or not? And if so, well, tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
um, that's some great stuff right there. So, we talked a little bit about how companies can become a little bit more attractive to prospective candidates. What are some things that you think candidates are missing, potentially, to become a little bit more attractive to prospective employers?
Yeah, so I think that with the changes that are coming, you have to continue to grow and learn new skills.
Mm.
And I say that as someone who has several certifications. I'm an advanced Scrum Master. I have my PMP as well, and I just recently completed some work in regards to Lean Six Sigma. Right, so you have to stay on top of your skills. You have to keep brushing up on your skills, because those certifications are great, but they're constantly evolving, right? So now we have safe agile, right? So that wasn't a
Right.
thing years before, right? When I first started off as a Scrum Master, and now they've moved to Safe Agile. So that's going to be something that I'm going to be looking into to add to my portfolio of skills, right? Attending workshops where you can learn leadership skills and communication skills. I think
Mm.
that it's somewhat naturally inherent that, oh, you're a project manager, you know how to communicate. Well, I do, but the audience is constantly changing. The messaging I'm trying to craft has to change, right?
Yep.
So we need to keep up on those soft skills, leadership skills, communication skills. Emotional intelligence is a big one, right? We can't all just be robots at work. We have to have empathy towards others, what's going on in their life, what's going on in the world, as we've all kind of dealt with this past year and a half. All of those things are very, very important. So in order to make yourself more attractive to an employer, make sure you have the right skills for the job you're applying for. If you don't, go get them. There's lots of resources to get those type of skills that you're looking for. Make sure you focus on soft skills. That actually is something that has a bigger impact in our daily work than the hardcore certification skills, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you can't communicate, it doesn't matter that you're a PMP. It doesn't matter that you're an advanced Scrum Master, because those are great, but you have to be able to get your message across to others. And then keeping your network and your relationships current, and meeting people for coffee, like you and I have done as well. That's also important, because you find out new things, you find out new industries, you find out new ideas. Those are all very, very important.
Yeah, I love that. And there's so many free resources out there,
Yes.
especially in this virtual world. You
Yes.
don't have to travel. You might have to travel from the living room to an office or something like that. That the commute's not bad though.
Right.
Um, and there's you know whether it's industry specific or whether it's more the soft skill, there's a lot of opportunities online. I know LinkedIn Learning is a
Yes.
great resource for people. Again, not specifically selling for LinkedIn, but just sharing that, hey, this is a great resource that's available and for free. Um, for people, and get you exposed to a lot of the experts within your vertical or your industry, or the type of work that you want to be doing. Um, you know,
Exactly.
One of the things um, that I've noticed over the years is a lot of people really focus on training or skill sets or workshops of things where they are today, and really don't think about what it is that you really want to be doing when you grow up, so to speak. Um,
Right.
and I like that you brought that out a little bit. Continually learning and evolving and becoming aware of different industries. I think is very important as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, there's probably a lot of frustrations that prospective employees or candidates find when they are going through the interview process. What are some recommendations for employers to go ahead and reduce those types of frustrations that either you've experienced or people that have experienced these types of frustrations?
Yeah. So I think that the idea of filling out a standard application is somewhat going by the wayside.
Mm,
Um, a lot of companies are still having the fill out the form, where you go through and you fill out all of your work history, you fill out all that information, right? Whereas some companies have kind of moved forward in technology and they say, send us your LinkedIn profile.
yep.
That's all they want, right?
Hmm.
Because there's this kind of controversial discussion that your LinkedIn profile can sometimes be your resume without actually being a resume. It's a digital version of your resume that's live, because you should be constantly updating it, right, to
Yep.
show your work. So it's frustrating to kind of go between the two. One job, I have to fill out this huge, long 10-page application. And the other job is like, oh, just, either upload your resume or send us your LinkedIn profile.
Hmm.
So, you're kind of going back and forth, and you're trying to figure out what's the best way to present myself. So I wish that there would be more of a push to get to a more standardized version of putting in an application for a job versus it being kind of all over the place.
Yes.
Um, the second thing I think employers are going to have to do a better job of is timing, right? You can put in an application on Monday and not hear from anyone for almost 2 to 3 weeks,
Yeah.
right? There's a large time gap between filling out the application, someone finally calling and saying, hey, we actually want to interview you. Let's set this up. Then you go for the interview, right? And so now
Mhm.
you're in there, you've got your foot somewhat in the door, right? And then there's
Yep.
another time gap. It's eons before you hear back from someone about whether you got the job, or the worst case scenario, you never hear anything at all, right?
Mhm.
That is still a big issue, and one that I feel that should never happen. I don't think that companies should never call back a candidate if they don't get the job, right?
Yes.
This is a simple sentence. Hi, I'm so and so from company XYZ. We've decided to move forward with another candidate, but thank you for your time.
Hmm.
That's all that needs to really be said. Nothing more, nothing less. But the dreaded never receiving a call and it's lost in the ether. And then the employee is just like, well, okay, I guess I need to move on. I guess I didn't get it. Or why didn't I get the job? Was it lack of skills? Did I not have enough experience? Right? They'll never know why they didn't get the job. So employers have got to be better at not doing that. They've got to provide a quick email or someone from HR to say, no, it's no for us. Thank you so much, right? Because it is very time consuming as a applicant to fill out a resume and fill out the application, right? That's our time that's kind of going into this effort and energy of applying for your company. So the same sort of effort and energy should come back to the applicant as well.
That's a great point. I was speaking earlier today with an industry colleague of mine, and we were talking about um, the fact that you may have three positions that have received like 100 potential candidates apply for them, um, but the people that only get communicated back to are the three that were getting the offer. You
Right.
may have people that it's a no, but it's a no not right now, or a no
Right.
because, and um, being able to understand a little bit about why not now is the right answer, and keep
Right.
on applying, or keep on the lookout for different opportunities. I've seen stories, talk to people that applied for positions like 6 and 7 times before they were actually accepted. And it was a frustrating process, but they wanted to work for that company. It was an organization that held um, held a certain spot for them, that
Yeah.
made them a company that was very attractive for whatever reason. So no, that's communication and the effort. I love your comment, Danielle, about the effort. Um, the candidate is putting a lot of effort into gathering all this information. It's
Yes.
always great to see that effort, and follow up coming back from the employer.
Right.
And that's a great point. I think it's one that's really really missed as well. You know,
Yes.
hey, I always want to be a good steward of people's time, as we're talking about time, and so let's get into the speed round a little bit
Okay.
for this. So, um, first question on the speed round is, what fact about Danielle would people be surprised to learn about you?
Um, let's see. I think I'm a very big reader. I'm an avid reader,
Okay.
and I have read over 1,000 books.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I have quite a large library here at home.
Uh
I'm
huh.
constantly reading. Um, it's something I'm very passionate about. There's something about reading that just kind of gives you a little bit of something else to do, right? It
Mm-hmm.
it uses a different part of your brain. It can take you away to a different area if or space and time when you're reading, and it's just, to me, it's just interesting. I read a lot of different genres, and it gives me a little bit of quiet time. That's kind of my quiet time, how I
Yes.
can kind of relax a little bit, think about something else, especially if I'm very stressed for the day. So yeah, I'm an avid reader. I love reading, and people are always like, how do you read with full-time job and kids and your husband and everything? I said, look, if it's something you love to do, you make time for it.
Yes.
So That's what I do.
What's your favorite genre?
Oh gosh. I'm really into like fantasy,
Okay.
um, like sci-fi kind of things. I
Uh-huh.
think it's because I get to go to a different world, right?
Oh,
If ever you
nice.
read a science fiction book or a fantasy book, this new world and idea has been created for you by the author. So you get a chance to literally go somewhere else with your mind and then just be in whatever that place is. And that for me, that's fun.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. So next question, and this kind of goes along with your reading and the sci-fi. Where would be the ultimate off the grid location for Danielle? If you could just go somewhere, for a week, where would that be?
Oh, geez. So this is probably going to sound funny, but I would go to the moon. I've always wanted to go to the moon.
Uh huh.
Ever since I was a little kid, I've loved space exploration, and I've always wanted to go to the moon. And if there was a way that I could go to the moon and work for a week, I would do it. So
That's
maybe
awesome.
maybe some of those, big billionaires who are flying off in outer space can figure that out for me.
Hey, Virgin Galactic might have an open seat here soon.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, Danielle, once again, thank you very much for your time today. If somebody wants to reach out and just continue this conversation with you, how could they get in contact with you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can definitely send me a connection through LinkedIn. So I love making connections on LinkedIn, seeing everyone's like, profile and experience. Additionally, you can contact me through my website, which is insightfulplanning.com. So we can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. So this has been a great opportunity for me to kind of talk about my experience. I'd love to talk about my career growth. We may need a separate coffee talk with Brohawk about my career path. That's not been a straight path,
Yes.
as you know. Um, but I'd love to, learn more about you and see how I can help you. And we talk about careers, diversity and inclusion in companies, all of those types of things.
Awesome, awesome, Danielle. Thank you again. This has been great, and I will take you up on that offer of doing a second installment, like a part two, with you at some point in time. So
Yes, sounds good.
thank you again, and we hope everybody watching this has been able to get a couple takeaways from our conversation, and maybe spur a new thought in how you can land your next big role. Thanks a lot, everybody, and we will see you on the next episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk.